My name is Walter Broadnax. In terms of my career and trying to give it some uh, current connections, if you think about the Affordable Care Act, for example, and I talk to my students about that and I remind them of this, that conversation did not start just a year or so ago. That we have been trying to get something that looks something like this and that would deal with our population more effectively in terms of health needs since 1948. And so, I happened to be there for 3.5 years during the Clinton administration. We tried to make it into something that people could get their arms around. The Obama administration had more support. I think people had been educated to some extent, understood more. But the point is that public service isn't about doing something that you do today and then you're done. It's about working at improving our society, improving the world, if you will, for the people that live in it. And if you look around the world, that's exactly what we've been seeing happening, that many of the developing countries in the world were, as they will say, we were far behind. But they've been catching up, and they understand how fundamentally important it is to have successful implementation and execution of public programs in order to be able to improve their societies. And without that, if you talk, for example, to my Indian students that are here, they fully understand that no matter how successful private enterprise is in India, and it's doing quite well, I must say, they understand that's not going to get them very far. The two sectors really do come together, and the more meaningful those connections, I think the stronger many of the societies you look at around the world. That's certainly true, I would argue, in Japan. I think the Chinese are very interested in about the same sort of set of successes. And I think we've done very well here. We're going through a little bit of a tough patch, because I think our society is periodically, it sort of repositions itself. And I don't know whether we're going to turn out to be a bit more liberal or a bit more conservative. I would suspect it's going to be a combination of the two, but what the two fractions are, I don't know. But I think we're trying to get our footing here, and if we do, if history is any guide, it could last us, several decades, and that bodes well, typically looking at our society of when we're able to really move ahead. So you'll get health care over that period of time really behind you, get our footing, have some experience. And let me just digress and say this is a big country. The thing that's really bothered me about the healthcare discussion is that people forget how large the United States is. I mean, we're on our way to having 400 million people, and this huge country, you get on an airplane here in Syracuse, New York, and you fly to Chicago, and you're sort of basically halfway to the coast. Now, you've been flying a long time when you land in Chicago. And so we think that we can move like we're some little village or something. We can't. There are just too many people, too many good ideas, and it's an open society. We've been able to preserve that, but there's a cost that goes with it, because then you got to hear all the voices. I think we're getting it lined up. There's an expectation that we're going to grow. We're going to continue to prosper. And I think we will then put those accomplishments in place, and then we'll start again to try to do something else. And it may take 20 years for us to get it done, but the place is going to keep growing. So it's not going to get easier. I think it's going to be continually more challenging to do it as the country grows. This is the first destination for many persons in the world. If they could just get here. One of my students from Pakistan told me once, he said, Walter, do you know why all the Pakistanis in the world are not in the United States? And I said, no, I don't know the answer to that question. He said, because if they can't walk and get there. But if they could walk from where they are, they would get there. That's quite an endorsement. That's first destination. And it's true, every place I've been around the world, people look to us for leadership in a whole host of areas. And so that's great. It's a great responsibility. But being in public service here, everyone wants to know what we're doing, what we're trying to do, what kind of successes are we having, and can they emulate and learn from what we've done to try to have some of the same successes in their societies.